Oilers, Panthers, rematch. We don't get a lot of rematches in Stanley Cup Finals, although we consistently see the same teams for several years showing up in the finals. A rematch is a little bit rare. This one's going to be special. Stick around. We're going to talk about all things Oilers, Panthers. We're going to break down plays. We're going to give you insights that no other channel is going to give you. We're going to talk about the ins and outs of gritty, tough, dirty hockey, and we're going to talk about the playoff switches that both these guys are able to turn on. Now, the last time we saw a back-to-back series, it was the Pittsburgh Penguins. It was the Detroit Red Wings. And that series is really reminiscent to what's going on here. The Pittsburgh Penguins are like the Edmonton Oilers, driven by three massively talented players, the best in the world at their position. They had Crosby, they had Malkin, they had Chris Letang, and they went up against a Detroit Red Wings team that was stacked and loaded to the nines. Although not as aggressive as the Florida Panthers team we see today, Datsuk, Zetterberg, Franson, who else is on this team? Hossa, Rafalski, Thronwall, Holmstrom. I mean, the list just went on and on and on. It was an extensively deep team, that Detroit team in 08 and 09. Pittsburgh took the second part of the series. Detroit took the first one. It was a war. I expect this one to be a war. And the Edmonton Oilers were the most recent team back in the 80s. It was the Islanders and the Oilers back-to-back. The passing of the torch. The New York Islanders beat them 4-0 in that series for Edmonton to rebound and win 4-1. So the question is Edmonton, the city of champions, ready to return to that? Is history going to repeat itself? Are the big three of the Oilers, McDavid, Draisaitl, and Bouchard, going to win a cup the same way Malkin, Crosby, and Letang were able to over the Detroit Red Wings? The Florida Panthers are the more experienced team at this. They are the team that is deeper by all pieces of paper, but we don't play a game on paper. We play it in the playoffs, and this Edmonton Oilers team is a little bit different. They're playing faster in the neutral zone than we've ever seen them play, where they're playing more aggressive in front of their own net and in front of the opposing team's net. They're playing a little bit dirtier, a little bit more of an edge. We're going to go through all of their players. We're going to go through all of their highlights. And is McDavid like Crosby? Is it his time? Will he not be denied at this point? He is the best player in the world. He's the best player in this series. Now, conversely, what makes the Florida Panthers different than the Detroit Red Wings, different than the Islanders? They haven't aged out. This isn't a team that's just been hanging around for some time, and it's a team that has a playoff gear and a playoff switch like most haven't seen. Not only do they become more violent, but they find ways to gap up. They find ways to take away time and space all up and down the roster. They have three incredibly deep lines, the Lundell line, the Bennett line, and the Barkov line. And we saw, speaking of Aleksander Barkov, you're going to see clips later on in this, we saw Barkov neutralize McDavid last year. We're going to lean into a little bit of last year, a little bit of this year. But when you have the number one defensive forward in the NHL, Aleksander Barkov, who is unbelievably offensively as well. He is cut out of the same cloth as Patrice Bergeron. Heck, as the career goes, maybe in the end he ends up being better, but right now this is the best two-way forward in this series. Connor McDavid had a very hard time scoring when Barkov was on the ice. Connor McDavid had to do his work against the Bennett line last year. He was very successful, especially near the end. The first three games, obviously, the Panthers were successful. The second three, Edmonton was successful. And the last one, for all intents and purposes, is close to a tie as you're ever going to get, with Florida winning. McDavid was able to exploit the times that Barkov wasn't on the ice, but this lineup is a little bit different. That Tkachuk Bennett line, little bit of a different animal this year. And if you catch them on their third line, well, you're dealing with Brad Marchand, Lundell, and Eetu Luostarinen. This is just different. So they haven't aged out like the Detroit Red Wings might have. They're not the pretty team that the Detroit Red Wings were in 09 when they play. This is a much more violent team, and they're not an older team like the Islanders were in the 80s when they finally lost to Gretzky in the Oilers. These guys are going to write their own path, their own history, but it is so interesting giving you the knowledge and the stories of what has come before and the striking similarities of a big three team against a team of established veterans and winners. Now, when it comes down to these lineups, everybody gets fired up about lineups. dailyfaceoff.com. Lineups always move. They're not static. So go down below in the comments. Let me know how you see coaches moving these guys around the lineups. This is just what was there from last game. Let's talk about it. It helps us keep track of the players when we're looking through. Hopkins, McDavid, Corey Perry. We all know Leon Draisaitl can be bumped up to this line. We all know Evander Kane can find his way into this line. We all know that there's different mixing and matching that Chris Knoblaw is going to be able to do. But Hopkins is the guy that stands out here for me. Nugent Hopkins has been one of the best pieces for the Edmonton Oilers. He's dynamic. He's a passer. He is a playmaker, and he can finish when needed, but he knows exactly what his role is, and he is an excellent two-way forward. He gets underappreciated for what he does in the defensive zone, so he's a critical piece to the Edmonton Oilers going forward. And without Zach Hyman in this lineup, things are going to look different for Edmonton. That was not the player you wanted to lose. Now you live by the sword, you die by the sword. When slashes, hits, cross-checks get out there, one team is going to take out one. Told you there was going to be an answer for Rope Hintz. Doesn't matter if you like it or not. That's not to start the argument. Said watch out for Mason Marchment. Bang, takes out Hyman. And that's a critical piece. He leads the playoffs in hits. That is the guy you need pushing back against the big dirty three from Florida. I don't say that rudely. That's Marchand, Bennett, and Tkachuk, and they have so many more. So you lose an aggressive piece like that. You lose a piece that can put in goals. You lose a piece that can drive offense. We'll see how that affects the Edmonton Oilers. They get back Matthias Ekholm on defense. He makes his way with his regular partner, Evan Bouchard. And you get a luxury pairing in Wallman and Klingberg. Klingberg's been amazing for the Oilers. What a pickup after the loss of Broberg. Wallman, great addition at the trade deadline. Stetcher is out. He did what he needed to do, and then you get Nurse and Kulak. Nurse gets a lot of flack, but he has played the second most for all of the Edmonton Oilers in terms of minutes out there. He has done some really important and big things for this team. Plus, he brings a nasty side that you are going to need when playing the Florida Panthers. Back to the forwards, Kane. Kane is going to be that agitator that wasn't there last year. This is going to be a guy that's going to be expected to go one-on-one with Bennett, with Tkachuk, and with Marchand. He's got to bring that edge. He's got to run goalies. He's got to get in their way. He is an absolute expert at getting under people's skin, and he is an absolute enforcer for the Edmonton Oilers. And the best part about him is he can score and he can play good hockey. You all know how I feel about him, but as a player, he's a big piece of the equation for the Edmonton Oilers, and he was out last year in that series. And where Edmonton really succeeded last series against Dallas was the fact that every one of these forward lines beat every one of Dallas's lines. The stars were alive for Edmonton, and you've heard me say it. When the best players, when your stars do exactly what they needed to do, and Draisaitl and McDavid in the Western Conference have been the best stars, most consistent. Every game they show up, they do what they need. They get points, they drive the play, they get assists, they take no games off, they don't go to sleep. I'll say like Mikko Rantanen did for Dallas, went quiet at the wrong time. These guys are always loud, they're always in your face. They take pressure away from the supporting cast. When your stars do what needs to be done, guys like Aleksander Barkov, who only got 5 points against Edmonton last year when they played because he has to play a defensive role. He's got to watch 97 when he goes out there. That neutralizes other teams' stars. So when your best players can step up and do damage against the other team's best checkers or best players, that allows your depth to step up and execute. And that is exactly what Edmonton has done all the way to the Stanley Cup here. That's why you see guys like Evander Kane, Janmark, Arvidsson, Podkolzin, guys like these stepping up and making a big impact because the pressure is taken off because there are no checkers left to check them. We all know the old adage, we need depth in order to win Stanley Cups. Well, that depth can't step in and do more than the first line is expected to do. So Edmonton's top line has done what they expected them to do up to this point, and we will talk about Florida in a minute as to whether or not they can take that away. But that will be the key to Edmonton's success. If Bouchard, if Draisaitl and McDavid can continue to play like the stars that they are, the depth of the Oilers will shine through because the pressure will be removed. Now let's talk about defense. Let's talk about Ekholm, and let's talk about Stuart Skinner. He may be a goalie, but he's the most important part of your defense. Stuart Skinner is doing exactly what he needs to do. He's hot at the right time. There are no bad goalies in the NHL when they start because there is only 32, meaning they are the best in the world at what they do. Yes, he has cracks in his game. Yes, he can be exploited, but there are times he can be ungodly, inhuman, like any goalie can be in the NHL. So he gets hot at the right time. Things go well. He is hot at the exact right time. Can he maintain it? He is going to get big help from Mattias Ekholm, John Klingberg, and Jake Wallman, along with Nurse, Kulak. I don't know. We'll see. But there's a lot of defensive defensemen here in Edmonton now that are going to block shots and keep crap out of the way of Stuart Skinner, making his life just a little bit easier. The challenge is when you play a team like Florida, who has so many stars and is so deep, is it going to be enough? Defensive defensemen don't get the pay that offensive or two-way defensemen get, guys like Bouchard, guys like Makar, because being able to put in goals is a massive part of this game, and it's valued at almost 2-1. At least in my opinion, it's valued at least 2-1 to a defensive defenseman that takes them away, because you can't win the game without goals. Now, you go down there and let me know, Oiler fans, if you agree with that. You are fine to disagree and agree with me on anything you like. That's why there's a comment section. I read them all. I love to see them. While you're down there, hit like, hit subscribe, join the channel on the way to 17,000. The support from Edmonton's been huge. Florida, the Big Cats. Meow. The first line, Rodriguez, Barkov, and Reinhart. Barkov and Reinhart are the staples on this line. Rodriguez, this is a guy that can play all up and down your roster. Just like I said with Edmonton, they will mix this up. Paul Maurice mixes lines up all the time. You're going to see guys float, but Barkov and Reinhart usually paired at the hip. Not only do these guys got to score goals, but they got to shut down Edmonton's number one line. This is such a luxury. I don't like when third lines have to go check first lines. I like when first lines play first lines because you don't want to keep your first line off the ice. When you have home ice advantage and you finally get that opportunity to do line matching, you don't want to go ahead and send out your third line and give them a whole bunch of minutes because they're a checker, because you're keeping your first line off the ice. You want to send your first line out and expect that they can outscore, outdefend, and beat the other team's first line. That's exactly what the Barkov line can do, and that's exactly what they did last year on the way to a Stanley Cup. You're going to see clips about it shortly. The second line, Verhaeghe, Bennett, and Tkachuk. Verhaeghe has been arguably the most important part to Florida in these playoffs. Yes, I get it. Barkov is the man, but Verhaeghe in the playoffs, very similar to Justin Williams was for the LA Kings when he stepped up. He just seems to show up to the playoffs and shine. This guy puts it in. He plays all over the ice. He can play with Barkov when required. We saw a sick assist from him before. He is such a fantastic player all up and down the roster, regardless of if he's on line one, line two. And don't get too caught up with line combinations because they're all going to be mixed anyway. These guys have played with each other all year. Bennett and Tkachuk, rat line number one out there. Bennett, in my opinion, he got taken to task by Connor McDavid last year. So as much as Bennett has been a massive game changer for Florida this year, the question is, can he avoid getting exploited by McDavid? The rat tactics only work if you can catch him, and you can't be a rat to what you can't see. So has Bennett learned a little bit more about positioning and keeping guys like Draisaitl and McDavid in front of him, and can he be a little bit more effective in this series than he was last year? And can he get in their head? And one of these guys or both of these guys, can they take out or neutralize Evander Kane as a player? I don't mean run him into the boards and injure him, although they might do that. Who knows? We'll see. I mean, mentally get him out of the game. And when you take a penalty as Bennett and Tkachuk and Marchand will, do you take them to the box with you? You have to exploit guys that you know are going to take whacks and hits. You got to get guys like Nurse and Evander Kane riled up so they take a penalty and you go on the power play. That's the mastery of being an agitator. That's the mastery of these three. Not only did they get theirs in first, but you go to the box on retaliation. Or if they get you and that referee's arm goes up, they draw you in with their little siren song. Come here, whack me, punch me, do whatever you got to do. So we go to the box together. That's the special sauce of a great agitator. All three of those know how to do it. The game within the game will be very interesting to me to watch when you watch Kane, when you watch Nurse, and you watch the three guys on the Rats, the Florida Panthers, how that game of chess plays out. Matthew Tkachuk as well. Slowest guy in the playoffs. Yep, slowest guy. Least amount of times breaking 20 miles per hour. He does not play fast in terms of skating, but he plays fast. He is usually the guy up the blue line. You're going to see it. They send the puck up to him, and he bumps it back for somebody to enter into the zone. Why? Because he's so big and so strong, he is better at just boxing out and using that body in a one-on-one battle, sometimes a two-on-one, and winning those so Florida can enter the zone. Florida loves entering the zone, strong side, chip and chase. They don't want to play in their own zone. They want to throw pucks out, and they want to get them in the neutral zone and get into the other team's zone. The problem with that is when you play against the Oilers is the Oilers love taking away pucks in the neutral zone, and oh boy, are they good at it. And when they take away at a puck in the neutral zone, it's probably in the back of your net. So this is going to be an interesting game of chess. Yes, you want to get it out of your zone if you're Florida. Yes, you got a guy like Tkachuk, big body on the boards that wants to do work. But one bad bounce or one gap up piece of aggression by the Oilers, it's in the back of your net. Line 3. I think this is the defining line of this team. Lundell, Marchand, Luostarinen. Look, this line is a luxury. You've heard me say it. It's the second. Sometimes it's a first line, depending on a playoff or non-playoff team, but they are a third line here for Florida. These guys have set plays. These guys know how to score goals. Marchand is such a good veteran. He has been there before. He knows what he's doing. He does nothing but win when it comes to international or playoff competition. Marchand and Lundell are going to be a handful for the Edmonton Oilers to handle. And can the Janmark, Podkolskin, and Arvidsson line really keep up with this line? I would argue no. No, on paper, they cannot. But I would also say that in the last series against Dallas, the Wyatt Johnson line was significantly better than the third line, whether it was the Henrique line or the Janmark line, whichever way you want to see it. I would argue both those lines were better than anything Dallas threw out. And on paper, Dallas was better as well, too, because the Edmonton Oilers stars shone in that series. So they're going to need to shine again if you want to see the Janmark and Henrique lines succeed. If they don't, and they're unable to break through, oh boy, that Marchand and Lundell line is going to eat them up. Now, the working man's line, the line everybody always loves to talk about because people love to look deep into the roster and show how great a fan you are by knowing every single player on it, Greer, Nozick, and Godokovic. Fourth line, throwback, eat some minutes. Paul Maurice loves fourth lines that are going to hit bodies, do nothing wrong, get it in deep, and get out. If they end up getting matched up, whether it's the Janmark line or the Henrique line, the Frederic, Henrique, and Skinner line, this is a real wild card. Skinner was phenomenal last game upon his return, and Trent Frederic might actually be the toughest guy in this series. He's an absolute horse. He's an absolute monster when it comes to being it. So I specifically left him off when talking about Kane and Nurse because he deserves his own little special bit of recognition. If anyone wants to drop the gloves, Trent Frederic is going to be there. So Adam Henrique still got a lot of miles left. Guys like Corey Perry, agitator, arguably one of the best of all time. These guys are going to match up well against the depth of the Florida Panthers, so don't sleep on them if you're a Panthers fan. There are a lot of names there in Edmonton that can do damage. If the Henrique line is the fourth line, I like them significantly better than Florida's. If it's the Janmark line, I'd probably take Florida's, but again, it's all going to be in the chess match here of how the coaches deploy them and who they put them on there with. That's why fans love talking about it, saying who they saw, where, when, why, what. Everybody loves talking about lineup and lineup decisions. It's the thing a coach can affect the most, and it's the thing we as fans think we could do in a different lifetime. We could all be a GM or a coach of a pro team. Just ask us while I'm on YouTube. Defense. Forsling, Ekblad. Ekblad, probably the best defenseman in the NHL that never gets nodded for things like Team Canada. He was a former 101. You might even call him a bit of an underperformer based on where he was drafted, but he is a massive part of the Florida Panthers, and he's a winner, and he's big, and he's mean, and he can score, and he's paired with arguably one of the best Swedish defensemen ever in Forsling. Forsling just continues to impress. Absolute anchor on that blue line. But Seth Jones as well. might be the most important piece on this blue line, gobbling minutes all over, all situations, power play, penalty kill, 5-on-5, and he's carrying Kulikov because frankly, Bulikov, however you want to mention him, and Winnipeg it was kind of Bulikov, just get him in and off the ice. Seth Jones has done a really good job regardless of who he is partnered with. But Nico Mikkola, the Finn, not a countryman to Forsling, a rival, but on the same team together, wow, has he stepped up. He has been fantastic. The challenge is working around guys like Schmidt and Kulikov. It's unfortunate that he's on the right side as well, too. So I like the top four for Florida, Forsling, Ekblad, Jones, and Mikkola. Not a big fan of Schmidt and Kulikov. You just got to get them through. Edmonton is going to exploit this. Edmonton's going to go to the side that they want to play on. They know what's coming. They are going to cross over and play the puck to Kulikov and Schmidt's side all day, every day. They are going to avoid Jones. They're going to avoid Mikkola. Why would you want to go to that side? If you have an option, you can play on the left side or the right side of the ice. I'm going to the left side all day. Somebody go to the net, make Jones and Mikkola take their skating away from them, take their ability to move a puck away from them, force them to cover you in front of the net. That's what Edmonton's going to do. Might be a hole for Florida. Worth watching and seeing. Now, I told you these guys love doing it. Take a look at Ekblad here at the bottom of the screen. Picks up that puck. Bang. It's just a quick little chip. And they're out. They love carrying on the strong side if you are Florida. But those chips and these battles that you see here, especially the one down below, you're going to be battling against a guy like Tkachuk. It's a little bit different. Another example of zone exits here. Bobrovsky absolutely loves playing the puck. Elite puck playmaker. Moves it over to Lundell. Like I said, this one ends up in a goal. Lundell gets it over to Marchand. They enter the zone with speed, but critically, they enter with three guys on the same side. Edmonton is not like anyone these guys have played in the playoffs so far. These guys, no matter what, Edmonton could exploit this. Now, the most critical battle that will be worth keeping an eye on, McDavid, Draisaitl, down below. McDavid, Barkov, I should say down below, not Draisaitl, McDavid, Barkov. Take a look at Barkov here. He's the man with the puck. Connor McDavid is tasked with checking him one-on-one, line one versus line one, best on best. Take a look at this body positioning here by Barkov. I keep wanting to say the wrong player's name. He is taking Connor McDavid to task here. Like, just a phenomenal job at puck protecting. And when you see a player's back, like you see here, McDavid knows it. You see the front, you want the puck. All day, every day, that puck is going to be McDavid's. Like, it does not matter who this guy is playing against. McDavid almost always turns that puck over. Not against Barkov. Great puck protect. Barkov keeps it away, continues to stick handle. No matter where McDavid is going, he is going to need puck support in order to take this away. And when you don't get McDavid on the ice, you get Barkov. And Barkov is going to do interesting things here. Carries in. Take a look at the defensive line he takes. This is why Barkov is so impressive. He takes such an interesting angle this way. As he's carrying through, it's an angle that any player is going to think is, maybe it's not a big deal, but it allows him to puck support and get on the right side of the puck. And here he is on the right side of the puck. Puck's over here on the left side. Barkov is ready to play defense, but as soon as defense is over and he finds a way to turn it over, he's gone. Defense becomes offense. Offense very rarely becomes good defense. So when you have great defense, you can do great offense. And Barkov just walks around Nurse. He walks around him, makes him look absolutely silly with Kulak, puts it in the back of the net. And once again, great defense leads to great offense when you're Aleksander Barkov in your own zone. Great takeaway there from Corey Perry. Barkov is able to help his team win the battle along the wall. And then what is Barkov going to do? He's going to leave the zone and he's going to take one of those little angles that we just showed. It's got a little bit of a circular play to it. It allows him to play that type of defense. Here he is, and he is determined. My team now has the puck on a stick. I'm no longer playing defense. I'm playing offense, and I'm gone. Moves the puck up quickly here to Rodriguez, creating a 2-on-1. That 2-on-1 turns into a near breakaway, and Bouchard and Ekholm are basically left picking up their jock, and that happened 200 feet away from the net. One more Barkov example for you. 4-on-4. This should favor Edmonton all day, every day. Bouchard, Draisaitl, McDavid are out there. Bouchard has the puck up there with McDavid. Who creates the takeaway? It's Aleksander Barkov, and he beats him to that puck. Barkov then, absolutely like the horse that he is, powers his way down the boards. The smaller slider, Evan Bouchard, is unable to get an angle on him. Barkov is able to turn away, create separation of time and space. Connor McDavid is left alone on defense, and he finds Forsling wide open, who is able to step in and put an unbelievable redirect there off Reinhart. 4-on-4, for my money all day, every day. I'm taking the McDavid, Bouchard, Draisaitl combination, but it was the Ekblad, Forsling, Barkov combination in that instance that just shows the defensive mindedness of Aleksander Barkov is going to be a big difference maker in this series. Did Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl learn enough to level up? Can they get through the horse that is Sasha Barkov? Okay, I said I was done. I'm not. It's too good of a one to show. McDavid, Barkov. Barkov gets on the right side of the puck. McDavid on the wrong side of the puck. The right side of the puck would be over here between Barkov and his man. Barkov burns him. And one of the fastest players in the NHL, he's unable to catch him. I mean, Barkov has the puck. He looks like he's skating slow. He really isn't. He's just a big man with a different stride, so it looks different on the old TV here. But take a look. We have gone the entire neutral zone, and that gap really has not changed. McDavid has not closed that gap one bit on Barkov here. It's still 2 or 3 stick lengths. Barkov bumps it out here to the wall. McDavid's coming forward. He starts gliding. That's the wrong play if you're McDavid. Leaves Barkov alone. That causes a 2-on-1, and Verhaeghe puts it in the back of the net. So to me, if Connor McDavid wants to win this Stanley Cup, we saw him do it against Dallas. We saw him do it against Vegas. He's going to have to play better defensively, and he's going to have to beat Aleksander Barkov on the defensive side of the puck in order to create offense if he wants to score against the number 1 line of the Florida Panthers. And I think he needs to in order to win this series, because we've seen it. We've seen him exploit the Tkachuk-Bennett line. Here is McDavid with Tkachuk as that puck ends up moving forward. This is that bounce back, that pushback pass that we see so many NHL teams doing. Gain the line, bump it back. And who's back there? You already beat Tkachuk. Bennett is on the back check. Nobody catches McDavid, puts it in the back of the net. One more time. McDavid, Verhaeghe. Verhaeghe has eyes on McDavid here. McDavid finds his way behind Verhaeghe. This is the Sam Bennett line who's out there. And he beats Verhaeghe. There's your Bennett. There's your Verhaeghe. Bennett may not have anything to do with this play, but when it comes to it, there is no puck support. There's not enough support here for Verhaeghe. That puck ends up going behind. And even though Verhaeghe has McDavid, nobody ever has McDavid unless it's Aleksander Barkov. McDavid's able to sneak out. Bennett gets caught watching. He gets caught on the wrong side here. Feeds it over. Bang, it's in the back of the net. Now, here's why you don't want to get caught in the neutral zone against the Edmonton Oilers. It's all speed. When you get gapped like this, you're never going to stop them. It's McDavid entering the line, looks for that drop pass, finds Nurse, puts it in the back of the net. So we all know when the Barkov line isn't out there, McDavid is going to do damage. I'm so interested to see if the level up is coming from the McDavid Draisaitl line, and can they get through the Barkov line. It'll be so interesting to see where they put Draisaitl now that Hyman's out. Is Draisaitl going to get a little bit of an opportunity to play with McDavid? Personally, if it was me, I would have Draisaitl and McDavid playing together a ton. Barkov can't cover them both. You got Reinhart, you got Rodriguez or Verhaeghe, depending on who you have out there, but we've seen it. McDavid can exploit Verhaeghe. McDavid can exploit Tkachuk. McDavid can exploit Bennett. If we use last year as an example for this year, it's always a new year, but Draisaitl gives you that relief. If you're Connor McDavid, I wouldn't worry about spreading out the talent. If I was Chris Knoblaw, I would worry about beating that Barkov line, because that is unanimously going to remove pressure from the rest of your team, and the Oilers can go do work. Florida's key to this one is just winning that battle defensively. If you take away the stars of the Edmonton Oilers, the depth isn't going to hurt you. As good as it is, it's going to piss off Oiler fans that I say that, but if you take those 3 stars out, That means the depth is going to have to play against some good competition. Sometimes it becomes tough. It becomes really tough when you have that pressure on you. It's much simpler when you know your three best have been there. Edmonton's been on a tear like I haven't seen before, though, which makes me think this might be a bit of a different series. But we can't talk about different if we're not talking about Mikkola. Mikkola has been absolutely phenomenal. He plays almost like a fourth forward here for Florida, 2-goal game. Big man sneaking in. Big F4 guy for Florida at this point. Yes, it's a redirect off, but we don't need to just see a redirect to see how this guy gets in the game. Not only is he a good defenseman, nice puck retrieval here, he makes correct decisions. Instead of just pushing this puck the wrong way, which would have been up the wall this way, he bumps it to the left after he makes a good read. And as soon as he notices his team has the puck, he leaves the zone and becomes that fourth forward. There he is joining in on the rush to give them numbers. Mikkola comes in, drives perfectly. He's going to go here to the top of the circle because that's where your F3 is going to go. Yes, he's a defenseman, but he is acting as F3, gets it at the top of the circle, lets an absolute snipe go, buries it in the top right corner. He is different than he was last year. He is leveled up to another level. So has Seth Jones, logging more minutes than anybody on the Florida Panthers. This is a new addition to him this year. These guys are no joke either when it's Marchand, Tavares, Austin Matthews, Willie Nylander. Take a look at Jones and his ability to stay with guys. Take a look at his ability to use stick on puck. Really good direction. Causes the turnover. Moves himself back into the right place. And as soon as he realizes his team has the puck, Seth's gone. There's that little chip and chase by the Florida Panthers where they like to move it wide up the wall. Jonesy picks up the puck. He's walking in. He's looking for a pass. Snipe show by Jones. Big addition to the power play as well. We know how critical that is to winning Stanley Cups. Take a look at what Jones does here, walking the line. Quick little check to his left, keeps it on the top, reading the play, dragging the Carolina Hurricanes, changing the angle, moving it over to his partner Ekblad, who's then going to step in after multiple angle changes by Seth Jones and put a goal in. Now for Edmonton, Draisaitl is the guy that has to get going. We know McDavid's going to get going. We know he's going to have a tough matchup against Barkov, but it's going to be Draisaitl and his ability to play like a horse and move pucks. Best passer in the NHL, finds it over to Bouchard. Bouchard's going to step in, score this goal. But this is all about what Leon Draisaitl can do on the wall. Draisaitl on the wall is a huge danger. He can score from the wall. He can move it low to high, and he does a lot of switching. So when Draisaitl is on the wall, he's going to spend a ton of time moving that puck low, moving that puck high, and consistently finding ways to walk that line. These are the kind of forceful plays we'll have to see from him. Florida is a little bit of a different animal. Draisaitl does this on purpose, baits him right to the line, beats him. And these are the switches I'm talking about with Draisaitl. Moves it down there to McDavid. McDavid is going to come back. Does McDavid things. Absolutely unholy. Even though he is McJesus. Moves this over to Nurse. And what do we see? Because we're talking about Leon Draisaitl. Another switch. Draisaitl plays all over it. He plays on the wall. He switches. And now he comes to his office. Everybody talks about the office of Gretzky behind the net. Ovechkin's spot. Draisaitl loves the half wall. He's an absolute monster on the half wall. He plays very similar to the way John Tavares played on the half wall, with the exception of Draisaitl's just better. Steps in, bang, there's a goal. There are so many things that Draisaitl can do when he gets on a half wall like this. He drops passes, he switches with players, and you can see it's the quick little switch there with Connor McDavid where he just keeps the puck. He could have easily left that for 97 and the play could have continued. Now, we can keep going on and highlighting players forever, but I think these are the critical matchups, and I've hoped I've convinced you of that. If you let Aleksander Barkov do work, he's going to put pucks in the back of the net. The Barkov-McDavid, can the Barkov line shut down Connor McDavid? Will Draisaitl play with Connor McDavid on that first line? What do you do without Zach Hyman in that lineup? The physicality piece of it. You have your own agitators. You have your own enforcers. You got the Fredericks. You got the Canes. You got the Nurses. You got the Corey Perrys. They're going against the Rats, the Marchands, the Bennetts, and the Lundells. The Tkachuks. Is the chip and chase system of the Florida Panthers going to be exploited by the neutral zone system of the Edmonton Oilers? Which goalie is going to come to play? Bobrovsky has been arguably the best goalie, at least the most consistent goalie in the playoffs. Skinner has not been, but when Skinner gets hot, it is more than good enough to win. Will the Edmonton Oilers exploit Kulikov and Schmidt? They're going to go to that side. We've discussed all of these things. The one thing we haven't discussed yet is Sam Bennett. And the question is going to be a guy like Bennett here on the wall. Is Bennett going to be able to contribute even more than he did last year? You want $10 million? This is your opportunity to show it. I get it's an agent talking about that, but he's talking through Sam Bennett, or Bennett's talking through the agent. It's plays like this where he starts it and sneaks in and gets lost and puts in rebounds and finds way when he's going through the crease to touch goalies accidentally, of course, when you're Sam Bennett. But don't feel bad, because Evander Kane is also just as good at that. It's the game in the game. So these guys are going to compete with each other. It's going to be interesting to see if Bennett can stay out of his own head long enough to put goals in the back of the net like we have seen him do in the first 3 series. You want to get paid. Show you can beat the best of the best. If you find a way to effectively, defensively and offensively beat the big guys on the Edmonton Oilers, there is a $10 million payday coming for you. But more importantly, there's a Stanley Cup coming for you. So we understand what's on the line here now. There are a lot of different factors going into this series. Frankly, trying to break down the 2 best teams in the NHL to say, I told you so, ridiculous. It's a 50-50 draw at best at this point. You can pick Florida, their depth, their physicality, their unbelievable march. I mean, they blew everybody out of the water, but they did have the most amount of trouble with the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Big Four, the Core Four. Well, the Core 3 of the Edmonton Oilers are better than that Core 4. So it's going to be a bit of a different challenge for them. You can easily take the Edmonton Oilers as the team of destiny. They have gotten progressively better every year they have played. They look incredibly fast. Their depth has beaten every team that has been put in front of them. But frankly, you're just going on vibes at this point. Hockey sometimes is not a game about analytics. It's just a game about vibes. I have picked Florida for every series up to this point. I did not pick Edmonton to beat LA. Admittedly, I was incorrect there. I had them on Vegas, but, anybody can hit a provisional, as they say in golf. Any asshole can hit a second tee ball. It's the first one you got to call. I'm reluctantly going to choose. And I say reluctantly because it's so hard to choose against Florida. I'm going to pick Edmonton. And Florida fans, you see the Canadian connection here. You're going to go, he's just picking a Canadian team. Not true. The Jets and the Oilers have a long-standing rivalry. I'm not cheering against anybody. I just want to see good hockey. But I think Edmonton's at a different level right now in this moment. I'm going to take Edmonton. That might come back to bite me. It's a hot take. We do a lot of non-hot takes here. I can't wait to see this series. Anytime you make a pick in a series like this, it is a hot take. Someone's going to be right. Someone's going to be wrong. You guys are going to let me know down below in the comments how you feel about it. I'm not cheering for either, but I am cheering for both fan bases to have a great time. Somebody's heart's getting broken. Tears are coming. Who's going to have the parade?